Hey everyone, I wanted to make this video since last year. Yeah, last year after I posted my I didn't know I was pregnant video. So right after that, in February, I got a little after that video. If you see that video, I'm already like sniffling and kind of sick. Um, a little while after that video, I got really sick. With Guillain-Barré syndrome. I didn't know I had it. I'll go into signs and symptoms and what happened to me in a little bit. I got my little Guillain-Barré syndrome book, which I haven't even read, and I just want to read a little bit of the back so you guys can know. I don't want to give like wrong information. So, Guillain-Barré syndrome, also known as GBS, is the most common cause of acute paralysis in America. People with GBS experience a range of symptoms from feelings of tingling and weakness to almost complete paralysis. Excuse me. No one knows why GBS strikes some people and not others, or what sets the disease in motion. What we do know is that the person's immune system begins to attack the body itself, causing what is known as an autoimmune disease. Most patients have a full recovery, but the pathway to this goal can be slow and scary. So, Guillain-Barré is really rare. Let me look. It says Guillain-Barré syndrome is a rare disease by any standard, affecting about 2 in 100,000 people per year worldwide. So I am now part of that lucky population. It's really rare. I don't even know where to start, to tell you the truth. I envisioned this video being like, I'm gonna do little PowerPoint cards or little index cards and very informative, and if I knew what I was gonna talk about, but you know, I'm sorry. It's probably never gonna happen. So this is what happened to me personally, my Guillain-Barré story. So around February, I was sick. Actually around December. So it must have been December 2014, going into December. Yeah, going into December 2015. I was getting really sick. I had like a cold and what I thought was flu, but it wouldn't go away. And I remember taking like a bunch of Tylenol and cold minute, like anything that I could get my hands on to get better. Because I always have like a weak immune system to begin with. But this was just like, oh, it was lingering. And one of the first, like now I can look back and I can see that there were signs and symptoms or like warning signs that something was wrong. But at the time, I had no idea what had happened. So I had that flu or cold or whatever I had, and I had a really terrible cough. Like it was just really bad, and it would not go away. And I just remember, now that I think about it, I had an intolerance to heat and like my temperature. I had a really bad problems with controlling my temperature. So I would be at my mom's. I would be in my mom's room, and I remember I was like, "Oh, I'm burning up," and I'd have the fan, and my mom and my son would have like all kinds of cobijas, the covers, like everything, and I would even feel bad because the fan would like turn and hit them, and they would just. It was just like uncontrollable, and I would run to my room, and I would be in shorts, and I'd open my balcony door and lay on the futon, and I would just be like, whoa, excuse me. I would be like sweating, and I just couldn't control it. And I'd be like, oh, I must have fevers. You know, I just thought they were fevers, honestly. And then after like around like 3 or 4 a.m., I would get like uncontrollably cold, where I'd close everything, and I'd be like, oh, like I'm freezing, I'm shaking, like I can't take it. And this was like, this happened for like weeks and weeks, I think, like 2, 3 weeks, I think. Um, I hadn't gone to the doctors because I don't have insurance, and I think I was in the process, yeah, around the time I was in the process of getting Obamacare, under the Obamacare medical Medi-Cal plan. And actually, yeah, I had a doctor's appointment planned for like a physical just to get screened and everything. And I didn't actually make it to that because I got so sick. So I just remember one night I had taken NyQuils and DayQuils and Tylenols and cough drops and cough syrups and everything that I could, and I was just sick, 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 sick. And what happened that day? That day that I went to the ER. Let me think. That was after. Well, I was just having problems like catching my breath by then, and I started getting really scared because I was like, in my head, I was like, 2015 is gonna be my year. I'm starting to be positive about my son. Like something really bad can't happen to me. Like not when when my life is finally. It, why am I always crying in this video? Mm-hmm. It's been hard. It's been a hard road. Anyway, come on, I can do this. So anyway, the day that I got really sick, that I landed in the ER, it was February 14th. I remember because the next day, or was it Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. I couldn't really catch my breath, and I was feeling really ill. And I was like, something's wrong. There was just something like the way that I was coughing. It was just really, really bad. I couldn't really catch my breath, and I just felt really ill. And I didn't tell anybody. And I was just like, I don't have money to pay for the ER visit, but I think I just have to go. I'll figure it out later. And that was my big delay. Like, I don't have money. I'm broke. It's always been my big issue. But I went. So I went to like the Los Alamitos hospital that's close to my house. And they saw me and they said I had bronchitis and I think like a UTI or something like that. And they gave me some little pearls, little cough, I don't know honestly what they are, but like suppressants, cough suppressants or whatever. And I was like, oh, bronchitis. Like, I, I don't even know how I got bronchitis. Okay. Makes sense. I couldn't catch my breath. This is what it is. I came back home and I let them know that I was like, I couldn't even make it there. I almost crashed on the way. And everyone was like, why didn't you tell us? You should have told us. We would have taken you to the hospital, to the ER. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Started taking the pills that same day. Yeah, Valentine's Day. Yes, I'm sorry. So that same day I took the pills, and by then I could no longer taste. I remembered, when you get sick, you lose your sense of taste. But then I started getting like this awful taste. Like everything was just like tasting like cardboard, like sour, not sour, like just awful, like really awful. And I remember I kept trying to eat like anything I would eat. Like even I tried to drink juice, and I couldn't drink juice. I think I had been nauseous as well, and I don't remember exactly a lot of the details from that part because it's been long. But I just do remember that I couldn't taste anything by then, and I was just like, I wonder when my taste is gonna come back. And then I took a drink of water, and even the water it was just very weird. Where I was like, this is off. Like I've been sick before when I lose my taste, and I've never had this awful taste in my mouth. And I was still normal though. I still had the nasty cough and like the little pearl thingies, pearlettes, whatever they're called. They weren't working, and I was starting to get scared. But I'm like, it takes a few days to get better after they give you like prescription medication. So I live in a two-story house, and I'm a big girl, like really, really big, see? But I can always shower myself and put my leg up and go up and down the stairs. Yeah, I get a little winded, but not like I was getting. So I remember I went downstairs, and when I was trying to come upstairs, I was having a really hard time coming upstairs. Like I literally had to hang on to like the staircase like that, like a monkey. And I told my dad, can you hold my juice? And he was like, why? And I was like, I'm just so tired. I'm weak. Like, I cannot go up the stairs. And I was winded. Like, I probably sound winded right now, but because I'm anxious. I have anxiety even talking about this. But I was really, really winded. And I should have known something was wrong. But like I said, I went to the ER. They did a battery of tests. I was like, if something's really wrong, they would have caught it. I struggled getting up to the room really badly. Like my legs felt kind of like noodles, like they just weren't working with me. And so I'm not sure what else was a like a red flag because I don't think there was anything. There was just until later. What else happened? Anyway, I just know the defining moment for me was like my mom was leaving or something, and I just typically just get up. My son's crib was across from me, and I could just grab the crib and like hoist myself up. And I remember I was like, "Oh, mom, I was gonna ask her something like out of my balcony, and I couldn't. I could not stand up. I was like something so simple, like you just stand up, and I could no longer stand up. And I'm like, that's weird. Like my legs are just giving up on me. And I just thought, okay, you've been sick for so long, like you're weak, don't get scared, like something's just up, you know? And I remember my sister asking me, like, why are you so winded when you're talking to me? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just tired. Like, I've been coughing, I just feel worn. I feel really sick. I feel like tired. And she says that even like drinking water and talking to her and having like a regular conversation, I was really, really, really winded. And I was like, oh, I, I couldn't even tell anymore. It was just, I started noticing like weakness in my legs, right? And then later on that day, I remember I started feeling my legs tingle, like they fell asleep. Like it was actually, I'm sorry, from the ankle down, like the actual foot. And I thought that's weird. Like they feel like they fell asleep. And but I didn't think nothing of it. I just thought like because of my weight and the way that I eat, I was like maybe I have diabetes now. Diabetes people, diabetics, not diabetes people. Sorry, diabetics usually have like the pins and needles and problems with what is it called? Yeah, circulation. So I thought, well, that's what happens, you know. Didn't think nothing of it. I stood up, walked around. My sensation wasn't coming back, but I was just like, well, I'm gonna have to go get checked out, you know. That's odd, you know. Later on that day, I was still sick. I'm still trying to coughing up a storm. I'm trying to take the little medicine that they had given me, and I got in the shower because I was like, something's just really like I was like, there's something wrong. Like I don't think this is my like I just felt really ill by then. I was like, something's really wrong. Like, even if I'm sick, I know I'm stubborn, but I'm like, I'm really sick this time. I didn't want to be dramatic. I didn't want to go back to the ER, but I was like, something's wrong. So I jumped into the shower, and the first thing I noticed was like going into the shower, my foot scraped, excuse my dry hand, scraped on the bathtub thingy. And I was like, that's odd because I'm like, wow, like I'm weak. I'm really weak. I'm tired, but I could always just get into the shower. And while I was in the shower, I could no longer raise my hands to like shower. I was getting really tired, and I was actually showering like this. Like I had to put my head down. And I was like, I just started freaking out by then because I was like, something's really, really wrong. Like, why am I can't even reach my head, and I can no longer really breathe right. So I was like, Mom, Mom. And I called my mom, and I had her take me out of the shower because I couldn't no longer lift my foot. And I was like, we gotta go to Harbor. Something's wrong. I'm not going back to LaSalle because I thought I had gotten misdiagnosed. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. Let's just go to Harbor, which Harbor doesn't have a good reputation. But I was like, let's just go. And so I went to the room. I was trying to go to the room to get my wallet, and then I just remember like my legs just gave out. They felt like noodles. I sat on the floor, and I was having a really hard time getting up. And I was like, something's really, 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 really wrong. So I went down the stairs on the last step. I fell. I sat down, and I could no longer stand up. And my mom, my sister, and my dad had to stand me up, help stand me up, and I was just like, something's really wrong. Like I can't walk. Like something's really, really wrong. My sister was like, let's go. I'll take you. You know. So when we got to Harbor, my sister brought out a wheelchair, and I had a really hard time getting in the wheelchair. Like I just by that point I was like, something's really, really wrong. Like my legs are just on you. It's really hard to make that connection. Like your legs work, why aren't they working? Something it's just even right now I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think the moment I had pins and needles, even in the hands, I had them in my hands. I don't know why I didn't just I should have just gone to get checked out. But I'm sorry. There was no time. I forgot to say what I forgot to say was that from the time that I went to the ER, it was just a span of hours to when I got really really sick. So that same night when I got back, that same day actually, I is when I tried to shower, and then like from it went from like, oh, it's getting bad to like in an hour I could no longer walk. Then from there, like it was just really really awful and fast. So anyway, let's go back to the story. When I was at Harbor, when I was sitting there, they hadn't put me through. They just did the temperature check and all that stuff. I was sitting there, and I don't know if it was my dad. He said, "What's wrong with your face?" And I said, "I don't know," because I was rubbing my eyes a lot. My eyes were like twitching and doing weird things, so I just thought I was tired or whatever. And my dad says, "No, like your face is drooped." And I'm like, "What?" And my sister's like, "Look at me." And I'm like, ugh. And I just thought, oh my God, I had a fucking stroke. Like with my size and the way I eat, I had a stroke. That's what happened. And so my whole left side of my face drooped. And my sister took me in, and she was like, her face droops. I think she's just having a stroke. There's something. My speech, this side was just like, well, see, it's the affected side. I still have facial paralysis, but you'll see the difference. When I try to open my eye, the nerves won't wake up. Like this side's the normal side. I can no longer really smile or whistle. So by then I was really, really, really scared because I thought I had a stroke, or I thought it was like Bell's palsy because my mom had that when she was sick. Her the left side of her face was paralyzed. So by then I remember I could still kind of stand a little, and they gave me is it a catheter? Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Not a catheter. I guess like a little bin thingy to urinate in, and I could no longer walk to the little restroom in the room. So I was using it, and then my hand stopped working. I could no longer hold it. I was just like, something's really, really wrong. Excuse me. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I don't know what's happening. No one knows what's wrong with me. They think it's Bell's palsy. They're trying to rule out a stroke. I'm sitting here like, I left my life in the middle of everything. I have a son. I was like, this can't be happening to me. You don't expect to just, hey, I'm getting really, really sick. And by the next time you're gonna be home, things are gonna be so different. I don't think anybody prepares for that. So it was really hard to be like, oh wow, like I'm really, really sick. Something's happening. So by that point where my hands weren't working any longer, and my legs were paralyzed. I was paralyzed from like the waist down. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know what's happening to me. This doesn't seem like a stroke any longer. So again, they did a battery of tests, and I was in the hospital for a long time. I went in Valentine's Day, and I was there a total of 32 days. I'm sorry, half at Harbor, and then I went to Rancho Los Amigos for rehab. Um, they kept coming into my room. I had a bunch of neurologists and student nurses and everything, like 9 people, 9 to 12 doctors at a time come in and say like, "Oh, you're the mystery diagnosis. We haven't found out what you have yet," and this and that. And I was still really, really hopeful at the time. I was scared, really scared, but hopeful. So anyway, they came back and they told me that I had Guillain-Barré. I've never heard of Guillain-Barré ever. I had a really hard time understanding what it meant for me. I was like, I am 28 years old. Wait, was I still 27? I can't even think sometimes. I have memory lapses now because of it. But anyway, so basically what Guillain-Barré is it attacks your central nervous system. So everything that we don't have to think about, like breathing and your heart rate, temperature, all that, it disrupts it. It disrupts like all the neurological connectors from the brain, all the impulses. Um, so basically, it's like the virus that enters your body mimics your nerves, and your autoimmune system, your own body, attacks your body. And so, I didn't know how serious it was. It's a really serious condition. I was there. I don't remember how long I was there. I just remember by then my face was so stroke like drooped. I could no longer talk. I would mumble. The nurses would tell me to write things down. I couldn't write my hand. This left hand was like a little claw. I had a physical therapist come in and do this little sponge thing to try to learn how to grip. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't eat. I had to, I was choking on everything, on all the food, all my liquids, even like the water had to have like this gelatinous powder to make it thick, like a thickener, because I was choking on it. I guess now looking back, what they said is that Guillain-Barré didn't attack my lungs, but the diaphragm that, your expands and contracts to make your lungs open and close was paralyzed. So that's what was the hard time. Why I was having such a hard time breathing. I'm so sorry, I just saw a counter, but I'm so sorry this video is so long. So they were watching me to see if I had to be put on get a trach or put on a ventilator, because it gets really serious. And I was in the ICU. It was really, really scary. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. I thought I was gonna die. One of the nights I couldn't breathe, and the respiratory therapist stuck a tube up my nose through my throat to try to clear the phlegm or the blockage. I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna die here. Like, I still was thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna come out of this. Like, this is not where I'm gonna die. But by that point, where like the nurses were scared and everybody was like running to me, my heart rate, went up to 190 at one point. I don't know if you guys know, but people have cardiac arrest at numbers way lower than that. So I was having a hard time breathing, and my heart rate was so high that every time I would lift my hand, my machines would go off. And they would run to me and say, like, oh, can you breathe? And I was just, I didn't know how serious it was yet. I remember one of the nights in the ICU, my sister and my cousin were there, and my sister didn't want to be around me because she kept looking at the machine. And I kept telling her, like, oh, it's faulty. I don't think it could be that high. Like, there's no way someone's heart rate could be that high. And my cousin, who's like a rock, she is like the rock of the family. She's so strong and she doesn't really show emotion. I remember seeing her scared for me. And that's when I knew I was like, something's like I'm gonna die here. I don't know, I welcome you guys to see like a lot of the Guillain-Barré videos because everything you see in those I went through except for like the trach. I couldn't stop sweating. They would put cold towels. I couldn't reach my face. Um, and then I would shiver, shiver, shiver. It was really terrible. And the pain, guys, I can't even describe to you guys the pain of having, like, there was just this overwhelming pain in my legs and my hands. Everything is delayed, so I would get it later on at night, like when I was doing physical therapy and trying to stand up. I would get so much pain, I would cry so bad at night. It was just unbearable. I don't wish that on anybody. So anyway, I don't want to make this way too long because no one's gonna hear this. But anyway, excuse me. Lost hope, thought I was gonna die. When I went to Rancho Los Amigos, I was in a wheelchair. They put me in a wheelchair, and I was like, I can't go home in a wheelchair. Like, am I not gonna be able to walk ever again? And they said, we can't tell you. Some people walk, some don't. Like, some people usually walk after like 11 months. And I was like, I have a little boy at home. He was like a few months then, I think. Was he I can't even think. He was little. Maybe he had just turned a year. He was, I can't think right now, but I know my baby was little. He's a year and a half right now, so he was little. And I was like, this can't be it for me. Like, I have a little boy. Like, how am I going to be in a wheelchair? Like, my house is not even, like, wheelchair accessible. Like, how am I going to bathe myself? It was really, really bad, guys. So, but what I will say, I already made this too long, and I'll just tell you guys more stories later on of what happened. Because there's just so many details that I've left out. But I will say this, guys, that sometimes things do happen for a reason. I used to get so depressive. I have my moments still because I'm like, no one wants me. Look at how big I am. And I get lonely. I get really, really lonely. And I used to always be like, oh, if I could just not wake up, I would be so thankful. Like, pray that I won't wake up because I'm just done. And when you're close to dying, you're like, oh God, that was so foolish. Like, I don't want to die. I want to live. Like, it's so scary. And so I think maybe that's what I needed. I needed a wake-up call because now I'm like, oh God, I'm so thankful. So thankful I didn't die. Excuse me, my nose is still. And you know, I have a little boy. And I'm almost back to normal, except obviously my face. I don't like wearing makeup because of wonky eye, but I try to do my best. And right now the issues that I'm facing is just I have a lot of anxiety because of the whole, like, how fast it's been. And because I look fine, people think that I'm fine, and with my parents, and they can be very what's the word? I don't even know the word right now. I'm sorry. I have memory lapses. I can think, like, in my head. I know what I want to say, and I can't find the words. Um, I still walk with leg braces. I still get dizzy. There's a lot of still symptoms that I go to, but I still go to talk to a psychologist to try to deal with my anxiety issues because it got so bad that I didn't want to leave the house. Anytime I would go to Walmart, or my mom would leave and leave me with my son, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. What's gonna happen to my son? And I just freak out. Like, I don't want anybody to leave. I don't want to be alone. I wouldn't want to be alone in my room. Obviously now I'm working with those issues, but I still get the tachycardia. Like, I don't know where am I. I get the panic attacks, like my heart will be racing and I just freak out, or I just have a lot of anxiety right now after. And so anyway, guys, I'm so scattered with this video, but what I wanted to truly say is that even at our worst, we are blessed. I am blessed. I am so blessed. It was a wake-up call, and I got to go to a thing called the Activities Expo. Wait, is it Activities? Yeah, Activities Expo at the Stable Center. And I saw these little kids that were paraplegics and, paralyzed and were born like that. And were people who had gotten, they were my age, but got in car accidents for drinking and driving. Things that, I've drank, I've drank, and I've driven home even though it's so close to my house. I am, and I've gotten really lucky. So it was a big wake up call to be like, wow, that could be me. I could be paralyzed forever. And then to think back, and my son, look at my son, he is a healthy human being. He didn't have prenatals. I was drinking, I was smoking, I didn't know about him. And I am blessed, and I wasn't seeing these things. I wasn't seeing how blessed I was. And, but I'm not happy it happened to me because it was such a scary and painful thing. And the spinal taps, and God, those things were so painful. Like, there was at one point, like, the pain of Guillain-Barré and everything was so much that I just wanted to die. Excuse me. But, I will say this, that we are blessed even at our worst. So, I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for if anybody made it this long to hear my whole story. If you guys want to know anything, just send me questions, because this has been like a really scattered video. Sorry.